Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. I hope you're all excited. Today we are here to do a tutorial in Cricut Design Space. And I'll admit, I was a little intimidated to try this type of design, but once I got it all worked out in my head, I decided it would be a really, really good experience for everybody because everything that we have designed here, the design that you're seeing on the screen, was designed using, obviously the text was using fonts, and the all of the shapes, every single shape that you're seeing there was made using just the basic shapes in Cricut Design Space. So we're doing a lot of really fun stuff. Do settle in and plan on watching for probably the next 45 minutes. I might go a little bit slower, but this is I don't want to call it lengthy, but it's longer than a couple of the other designing videos that I've done. So if you are one of my silhouetters, then definitely plan on joining in on Wednesday at 7 o'clock, and we will show you how to do this exact design in Silhouette Studio. So the first thing that I want to do is I have to change this up a little bit because it's just feeling a little too much, and I don't want you guys to get the wrong idea about our preview here. It is supposed to be a circle, so I'm just going to switch that a little bit. So for everybody joining in, there. It was fine when I first designed it, but then all of a sudden I decided I wanted it to look a little different. So, okay. So that's definitely more of the design that I wanted. And we are going to keep this design off to the side as long as I can, because I want you to be able to see what we're building over here. And when I talk about basic shapes, I mean just the shapes that are right here available to you within the software. We are not importing anything. We're not using any clip art, nothing like that. We are making this completely from scratch. So, all right. Are you guys ready to get started? I am definitely ready to get started. First thing that we're going to do is we are going to build this martini glass. Not martini, margarita glass. Definitely a margarita glass. I mean, I guess you can drink whatever you want out of it, but it's intended to be a margarita glass. It is a two-part process. So we have the lemon or lime, depending on, I guess, what you're working with. I think usually tequila and lime go together, but my brain goes to lemon, so it's completely up to you. We're going to do the margarita glass, and then we're going to do the lime shape up here. And of course, if you have any questions along the way, I am going to try to go back and forth and catch your questions. Let's start with the upper shape of the glass. Obviously, it is going to be a circle, and the bottom portion here is also going to be a circle. So we are going to go ahead and start with that basic circle shape. And this is a perfect circle. It's even on both sides. So the first thing we want to do is unlock your shape down here. And that's how I'm going to elongate it to give me more of the shape that I'm looking for on my glass. The very next step I'm going to do is to use a square. And I can unlock it if I want. I don't, that part doesn't matter, because what we're going to do is we're going to decide where at on this circle. Now I'm going to change the color of this just for you to be able to envision. This gray part is what we are keeping for that part of our glass. Okay, so when I select both of these and I slice, then I can move this down and delete everything else. So that is the first basic part. Now I'm going to copy and paste, because the next part that I need, I'm going to unlock again. I need that bottom portion of the glass. Okay, so once you're happy with it, you can kind of see where it stops and comes back. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so it stops and then comes back to do the bottom part. Now, let's go and talk about one other part before we weld these together. We need to talk about these two slices that we have coming out. All right, so for that, I'm going to copy and paste 2 more copies. Did I do it 3 times? Sorry, got excited there. And the same thing here. I'm going to give myself 2 copies because I'm going to make one of them a little bigger. And when I overlap them, can you see that little sliver that's left at the bottom? Here, I'm going to change that color for you again. You see that sliver left at the bottom? That is the shape that I want. There we go. See it right there? So because I want it to be even on both sides, I am going to align these so that they're centered, and then I can use my slice tool again. I can separate that out and delete these. So if I change this to a different color, we'll just switch it to white for now. I can slide that right into place, and I can make it bigger or smaller if I want to. But now I want to do the same thing with this guy over here. I'm going to go ahead and unlock. And I'll change the color. Okay, this one's a smaller sliver, so I can select those and hit slice and move that out of the way. So now, if I change that to white, you can see where I've got my 2 slices. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that up just a touch. Oh, not that much. I'm going to align these center horizontally, and I will use slice again to cut out that piece. I'll do the same thing with this one. Align center horizontally and slice, and I get that piece. You know what? I lied to you. Let me show you, and I'll tell you why. I don't want to slice this one out yet. I want to weld these first. Okay, so before I weld these, I'm a big fan of centering because I don't want it to be off just a little. So if I select both of these, if I hold down my shift key, I can use my weld. Well, I guess I had already sliced that. So let's back up, back up, back up. Okay, so this is right after I slice this one, bring it over. Here we will send it back so we can see what it's going to look like. Use our center horizontally. All right, there we go. Now when I weld these together, it looks like it disappeared, but it didn't. It's just actually behind. I sent it back. There's my other part I want to slice out. But I welded those ahead of time because otherwise when I slice that out first, then the bottom or the extra piece of this bottom circle would have interfered with my slice. I can select both of those and slice them out. There we go. That's what we're looking for. So that is the basic part of our margarita glass. The bottom part down here that you see is a circle. But again, we unlocked it and made it more of an ellipse. And then we used a square, unlocked it, And that's what we used for the stem. So I just want to, again, center align these horizontally, and then I can weld them together. Now they are all one awesome looking margarita glass. So before I move on to the lime, I'm going to jump over and just see if we have any questions. I don't see any so far, so just remember, if you have any, make sure you put them down there and we will come back and answer for you, okay? So right up here, you can see I did add a white piece to represent the lip. So we will use another square, unlock it, and we just want to make a thin rectangle. And I can align it in here, stretch it out, use that center align, and slice. There we go. And so that represents the rim of the wine glass. Not wine glass, margarita glass. I'm gonna get that right. You guys can tell I don't actually drink margaritas, so. All right, let's talk about the line. We're gonna start with a circle. And we are also gonna start with a square. I'm going to unlock my square, and I want a thin slice. So I'm going to select these two. Well, I want to make a duplicate of that first because I'll need it again. I'm going to select these two, center horizontally, well, I'm kidding, center totally down at the bottom, and slice. Okay, and that gave me the first slice in my lime. So now I want to rotate this 45 degrees. I want to make sure I make another duplicate. And I can center align these, hit slice again. Create, I need one more of these. Okay, so we will rotate this one 90 degrees. You guessed it, select them both, center align, slice. And this one here, we're going to 135 degrees. Center align and slice. Well, that's not what I wanted. There we go. So that gives us our, really any citrus shape. Also looks like a pizza, so I'll leave that up to you guys. Maybe I'm just a little on the hungry side. I'm going to give myself 2 more circles. And I'm going to make these a little larger. When I fit those together, I just want a thin border around the outside. Select those, center align and slice. Not that one, not that one. So now I can fit this ring around the slices of my citrus fruit. There we go. I might want it a little bigger than that. All right, there we go. So I'm going to go ahead and group those together. I'm going to go ahead and change them. I'll do those to green this time. There's a lime. Well, I thought I was going to group those together. What if I weld them? Excuse me. All right. So now we have our margarita and our lime glass. So I can position those so that the tip of my margarita glass, let's zoom in and look at that, lines up. And that's the easy way to do it, because then I would just be able to subtract these right here. So that's completely up to you. I had to be a little bit extra, so I actually rotated mine so that I would end up with half a slice on each side of my glass. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to make that a little smaller. That looks a little overwhelming. Okay. So I took and I made an extra wine glass, or the extra margarita glass. That way when I sliced these, I could pull out that part and delete this part that I don't need. Okay, now you'll notice I do have a couple extra pieces that I don't need. I'm going to use the contour. Zoom out. And I'll just cut those out because I don't need those. So now my lime should butt right up against my glass, and I don't have to worry about doing some crazy layering. So I promised it was easy, right? So I'm not going to say that it's the easiest thing you're ever going to do, because the easiest thing would be just to buy the design. But, you know, a little bit of experimenting with using your shapes, and you can easily, you know, learn an easy way to be able to customize your own design there. So let's talk about the rest of it. We need to talk about this pretty background that we have here. I bet you can guess where we're going with this. I'm going to make a circle. I'm going to make a square. Let me just check on you guys' comments. Still no questions. All right. We must be doing really, really good. But just don't be afraid. All right. So I'm going to unlock. I can make this any thickness that I want. Now, upon further reflection, I actually don't care too much for how far apart those are spread. So I'm going to set this up. Now, I do want to say you need to be able to, what do I want to say? Space these out evenly. Okay, so I am going to do a small slice, and I'm spacing it out on every inch mark. So I'm just doing, when you see those pop up, that's my paste. I'm just pasting a new rectangle. That one is not quite long enough, so I'm going to make it a little longer. And I can do this all the way down the circle if I want to. It just depends on what kind of look you're going for. Okay, so if I'm going to hold down my shift key, select all of these, and weld them together. Then when I do my slice, it all happens at one time. So I can get rid of these, and we'll come back to the contour, but I don't need the big one at the bottom. So I definitely like that much, much better. I'm going to change the color. Since we used green for our lime, I'm going to change it to blue. Who doesn't like blue? I'm sure somebody out there, but not me. I love blue. We will bring our glass front and center. And there we go. So what do you guys think about that? Now all we have left to do is curving the text, and luckily in Cricut Design Space that is also really easy. So we're going to type out if you're going to be now it populated with the font that I was already using. If you guys want to know what that is, it's called Mr. Stout right here. I purchased it as part of a bundle on a website, so I can copy and paste, because the other part I want to say is then bring the tequila. And last but not least, I do need to make my, not all that, Control all, salty. Okay, the salty is going to be in a different font. That font is, let me see, can I put this one here? Ace Addy. I obviously am not saying that right. My pronunciation is terrible. But it was also part of a bundle. I'm a big fan of font bundles. All right. So obviously you can see this is spaced out pretty far. So I am going to ungroup and bring these together. There we go. That way they're all touching. And then I can select them all and weld. All right, so let's put the rest of this design together. We're going to curve our text. It does help if you try to at least put it a little bit in place. That way you can see if the angle you're working with, well, that is not what I wanted to move. Well, you guys are watching, so it's going to be more difficult. All right, if you insist, I will move the circle instead. There we go. All right, next we will, we can put salty anywhere we want, but we're going to center it after we curve this text. So this text right here, you'll notice when I click curve, it says it's at 9.648. That means on this one, I want to do negative 9.648. Now with salty, that actually ended up being a pretty good size. All right, so what I'm going to do, now these glasses have been playing games with me. I keep grouping them together, but then they're not actually grouping, so obviously doing something wrong. So for the moment, let's attach. No. I mean, we can't attach. Yeah, let's attach. Okay, so I can select all of these and center horizontally. Now that centers everything, but you saw how now like my Y doesn't look right compared to my S, and my glass is too far over to the left. So feel free to adjust those. Sometimes what I'll do is I will try to locate the center of my design, because I can use this grid in the back to my advantage. Okay, and the center of my design, now that I have to make it a little smaller, is going to be this 6.5 grid in the back. So like I would want to line up my stem because that's actually going to be the center of the glass. And then the same thing with salty. Really, I feel like the center is going to be right there in the middle of where my L is. And some of that will be personal preference. You may choose a completely different font altogether, and then that won't even be a problem. So if I detach those, I can change my line back. And if I want to, I can even change the color of my glass. So let's talk about this real quick. Here's what I would do. I'm not a fan of white shirts anyway. So if I wanted to experiment on what color shirt I would want to put this on, I can send to back and say I was going to put it on this dark gray of a shirt, then I could actually make my glass white and it wouldn't look so bad. I would probably also want to do my text in white. And then, so I don't like the glass the same size as the text. So let's change from blue to maybe like a sunset. And then what happens if I change this to light blue? So that's not too bad. Or I bet also if I change that to blue and change this maybe to a really light gray. No, I thought I would like that more and I don't. I don't like that as much. Maybe if I change salty to light gray. Yeah, so I kind of like that. Now, obviously, I was designing this for a shirt, so I would, get my shirt out and go over to my HTV and see what actually looks good to my eyes. But it's always kind of fun to play around with it in here and just see what you're working with. So let's check in on the questions again. Will the tutorial be available for Silhouette also? Yes, Erica, what we do is on Monday, we do the tutorial on Cricut Design Space, and then we will come back and do it in Silhouette Studio on Wednesday at 7 o'clock. So it'll be the same design, it'll be in Silhouette Studio, 7 o'clock on Wednesday, right here on this page. All right, and I'm sorry, I always do a little, I always forget about all the different places that I'm posting this. So if you are watching on Craft Chameleon, I am so sorry. I kept saying I didn't see your questions, but now I'm actually going to come and see if you actually had any questions. So give me 1 second and I'll take care of that. So luckily, the second go around, I did this a lot faster. So, you've only been here for about half an hour, couple minutes more. Let's see what questions we have. Hello. Let's see. Well, you know what? I wasn't wrong. I still don't see any. So I'm really excited that we covered enough that you guys feel comfortable with no questions. But if you think of any afterwards, I always recommend that you watch the tutorial all the way through and then come back and follow along. You can put the tutorial on your phone and then set it up on your laptop so that you can watch while you're also designing. So if you're come across any questions or something that doesn't work for you the way that I explained it, feel free to comment on the replay because I always come back and try to check all of these. Or if it's more time sensitive, you don't want to wait for me to check, feel free to tag me in the Solo Life Inspiration Box group or the Craft Communion group, and I will come back and answer those questions for you. So, all right, well, I'm feeling pretty good about this. I'm right at the 30-minute mark. And, I really appreciate you guys joining me. And, hey, like I said, Silhouetters, let's do it again on Wednesday. Wednesday at 7 o'clock. Now, Jamie will be here tomorrow at 7. Yes. Jamie will be here tomorrow at 7 o'clock, and I will be here tomorrow at 4 o'clock. We do the switch off. But typically on this page, you always have something to look forward to at 4 o'clock and 7 o'clock. So, alrighty. Thanks again for joining in, and we will catch you tomorrow at 4 o'clock. All right. Have a good night, guys. Bye-bye.